Guadalcanal. Poured from some 100 factories, reaped from some 1,000 farms, spewed out in fantastic abundance by American labor and machines, the supplies for war are heaped upon an island base in the South Pacific. All the world knows its name, Guadalcanal. Springboard for attack, storehouse for victory. Yet in 1942, Guadalcanal was wild jungle. 90 uncharted miles of festering malaria and rainforest, bypassed for centuries by history, forgotten by man. But by June of 1942, the unpredictable forces of war began to link San Francisco in the United States with Guadalcanal in the Solomon Islands. The 1st Marine Division embarks for the South Pacific. Destination, New Zealand. Mission, undetermined. Somewhere, on some unspecified battleground, sometime in the uncertain future, the untested Marines will clash with the tested soldiers of Japan. But first, the tedious ordeal of the convoy. Uneventful, interminable weeks at sea.
The ocean lifeline to the South Pacific is the war's longest and the war's most tenuous. Stretching 6,540 miles from California to New Zealand, it ties Australia to the United States. Break this line, stop the ships, and Australasia and Asia will be forever Japanese. Across the world, from the islands of Japan, other convoys, other soldiers leave for the unknown and sail away to war. They too set a southerly course for islands with names unknown to the men who must fight and die on them. For them also, the routine of shipboard life, the placid prelude to carnage.
After the conquest of Rabaul and the Bismarck Archipelago, the Japanese push down the Solomon Islands. The two opposing forces slowly converge. Early in July 1942, a lone American plane sets in motion a chain of events which will bring those forces together at a place which neither side has foreseen nor planned. On obscure Guadalcanal, air reconnaissance reveals the Japanese are building an airfield which threatens the Allied supply line to Australia. What the plane has seen changes the course of the Pacific War. The Pentagon, Washington, seat of American war planning. The Joint Chiefs of Staff recast their global strategy to meet the new Japanese menace to the Allied positions in the South Pacific. Resources are slim, trained troops are lacking, but the Japanese can be permitted to go no further. Guadalcanal must be taken. Admiral King casts the die. New Zealand lies in the shadow of the Japanese advance. For the United States forces stationed there, little time remains to enjoy the cordial hospitality of a sincere ally. The Marines have their mission now, to launch the first offensive land action in the Pacific War. Under Generals Vandegrift and Rupertus, the 1st Division is ordered to Guadalcanal, ordered to seize the island and its airstrip. This means another convoy, but it is very different. This convoy, loaded and geared, sails for combat, sails for battle. August 7th, 1942. Exactly 8 months after Pearl Harbor, the United States of America takes the offensive against the Empire of Japan. For the first time, the American overture to assault preludes invasion of the islands across the Pacific. The theme of the future is played on the beaches of Guadalcanal. Troops has been given. Land the landing force. The day of hit and run in the Pacific is over. The hour of hit and stay has come. The first American amphibious operation in World War II is enacted like a dress rehearsal. Bombardment has driven the enemy off the beaches. The Marines walk ashore, into the island. 18 miles across the Sound, others land on Tulagi Island. Violently opposed by Japanese Marines, American Marines fight their way ashore. Japanese strike back swiftly, strike back hard. Bombers from Rabaul hit American transports before they can unload supplies vitally needed to sustain the landings. Damage to the transports at sea means near disaster to the Marines ashore. The shattered transports withdraw. Stripped of supplies, the Marines dare not waste a moment encountering their implacable, impersonal, hateful foe, the jungle. Now it begins. The toil and the terror that makes Guadalcanal not a name, but an emotion. The airstrip is taken the day after landing, and the Marines christen at Henderson Field to honor a fallen buddy. Their own gear destroyed, the engineers use Japanese equipment to prepare the field for the first American planes. The Japanese reacted sluggishly on the beach. They unleash full fury from the sky. Their own field now menaces their own flank. They go all out to destroy it first, planning to retake it later. Under the dark cover of night, the Japanese filter reinforcements ashore. Special landing troops, Imperial Marines, crack units. Their general has warned. This is the decisive battle between Japan and the United States. A battle on which the rise or fall of the Japanese Empire will depend. No troops are better fitted than these to master the jungle. Fearless, these men have been schooled in stealth and infiltration. They are experts in ambush and concealment. And the Americans? They meet savagery with savagery. They fight, and they fight, and they fight. history of human slaughter. Few troops have ever endured such scourging as the Marines on Guadalcanal. The casualties mount from the fighting, from malaria, from dengue, from the rot and corruption of the jungle, which knows not mercy. Salute the rising sun. Throughout their empire, throughout newly conquered Southeast Asia, throughout the South Pacific, the Japanese pause out of respect for their symbol of national superiority. Theirs not to reason why. Theirs but to do and die. And die they will, and die they do in a series of the most terrible sea battles in history. Down from their island fortress to the north, Rabaul, comes the Imperial Japanese Navy with timetable regularity, the Tokyo Express. But sailors of the United States and Australian Navy sacrifice their blood for their brother Marines, who cannot hope to control Guadalcanal against an enemy who controls the surrounding seas. The Japanese come down the slot of water between the Solomon Islands and head for the sound called Iron Bottom, because it is strewn with the hulks of dead ships, the bones of dead sailors. The Battle of Savo Island, the Battle of the Eastern Solomons, the Battle of Cape Esperance, the Battle of the Santa Cruz Islands, the Naval Battle of Guadalcanal, the Battle of Tassafaronga, the Battle of Rabaul Island. Nights of inhuman ordeal and defeat. Nights of more than human valor and victory. Guadalcanal is a running wound through which both sides bleed. A hemorrhage of naval strength, of men, of materiel. Far from the dying and destruction. Far from the sailors and Marines who fight and pray for victory and salvation. The United States of America organizes her land, her resources, her industry, her men to answer the distant prayers. In the greatest mobilization of strength ever known to the world, America prepares to rescue the world. And to the rescue, America marches. And on Guadalcanal, another march. A march of grim men. Old young men. A march of men leaving purgatory. The 1st Marine Division is being relieved. What's left of it. And on a lonely grave at Lunga Point, there is a prediction about the Marine who lost his youth. That when he goes to heaven, to St. Peter he will tell. Another Marine reporting, sir. I've served my time in hell. Admiral Nimitz, Commander-in-Chief, Pacific Ocean Areas, flies down from Pearl Harbor to pay what small tribute is within man's province. If there was horror and ferocity, there was also courage and self-sacrifice. If there was death, filth and disease, the Marines turned the tide of war and stopped their enemy. The Japanese will advance no further. And as the surviving Marines wave goodbye, one of the greatest tales of heroism slips out of focus into history. To these men go the honors accorded the Greeks at Thermopylae, the colonials at Valley Forge, the British at Waterloo, and now, the Americans at Guadalcanal.